Hey beautiful people, and welcome back to another video. I have decided to start like a mini series on the differences kind of between South Africa and Australia, and what it's like living in South Africa, what it's like living in Australia. Just because if you are not aware, we spent the last 11 months in Australia. Our son was born there, and so I feel like it's all really fresh in my memory and my feelings and stuff like that. So I thought, why not just start a mini series on this? So this is the first video to the mini series of 2021. This video is going to be on the things that I've picked up as an Australian in South Africa that kind of makes me become a little more South African. Just a disclaimer that this is my subjective experience, and so the points that I have written down today are points that maybe relate to other countries as well. They could also be something that as a South African they feel like is not South African. I'm not really sure. You can let me know down in the comments below. But for me, these are the things or the ways in which I have changed and become more South African per se and less Australian, if there is such a thing. I don't know. I thought it would be an interesting video. So without further ado, let's get into the video. The first point is slang. And so when I first came to Australia, I had quite an Australian accent. Now I speak to people and they don't even question whether I'm South African or not, and so clearly you can't pick it up in my accent, and clearly I sound like I've become quite South African. So some of the things I have started saying is yeah, now, no yeah, and just now. I'm going to make a video a little bit later on what these things mean if you're not sure. I'm sure they're pretty self-explanatory, but I'm also not really sure about it because anyways, we'll figure that out now. The second thing I've kind of picked up is like the straightforwardness of South Africans. Australians are quite sensitive in the way that they discuss certain things with one another. I don't want to say Australians like beat around the bush, because I think we can still get to our point of what we're trying to say, but it tends to come off a little bit more sensitively, where in South Africa I find that people are quite straightforward. They're not really too worried about like letting you know something, or maybe South Africans have a bit more of like, I don't want to say this and seem horrible, but South Africans are quite tough. Like I feel like people don't get offended that easily. And I think I've picked that up a little bit as well. The third point is driving habits. My driving has drastically changed since I've come to South Africa. I find that people here don't really stick to the speed limit. They kind of just drive however they want. They also don't stick to driving on the left side and overtaking on the right side. Kind of just drive in both lanes. I mean, clearly those are the rules, and maybe some people follow them, but that's not really what I see on the road. And so I try and hold myself back. I don't want to go out there and be like, I speed, because I really do stick to do my best to stick to the speed limit. But when it comes to things such as getting to like a four-way stop, here it's quite well known that, especially if it's at nighttime, you can kind of slowly go across it, even if it's a red light and there aren't people around you, just for safety reasons and things like hijackings. So I've become quite aware of what's going on around me when I am driving. So in Australia, you wouldn't think twice, you'd stop. Well, from my experience, you would just stop at the four-way stop, or you'd stop at the traffic light and be like, cool, nothing, I don't really have to take a good glance around. Maybe you'll lock your doors or something, but here I'm always aware. I'm checking out if I'm stopping, who's around me, is anyone approaching me. And so I have changed a little bit in the way that I drive. The fourth thing that has changed about me is my desensitization to crime or bad things that happen in the world. I feel like I was very sheltered in Australia because I wasn't really aware of that many goings on in terms of crime and stuff like that. But I feel like here it's all around. You're constantly hearing of something that happened, or a hijacking, or a break-in, or it's not necessarily always violent, but there's always crime happening. And I feel like I've just become really desensitized to it, where it's like, oh well, they got broken into, oh my goodness, of course I feel for them, and I have empathy, but it almost feels like it's a normal thing. in a video that I made a really long time ago, I mentioned like, yeah, we've been broken into before, and you know, they've been, I think it's something like 3 break-ins in the last month, and like some people in the comments were like, whoa, that's like pretty crazy. And to us it was like, oh well, it's kind of just like normal. Do you know what I mean? So in that sense, I've become quite desensitized to crime. Number 5 is the amount of times that we eat out, because eating out in South Africa is a lot cheaper than in Australia. Like if you want to go out for a meal here, let's say for instance my husband and I were to go on a date and we both had a drink and we both had a meal, we can like get away for going out for a really nice meal for like maybe 250 rand, maybe even 200 rand, something like that. In Australia, I mean, you can maybe get away with having 1 drink and 1 meal for that price, unless you're going to like takeaway or something like that. And so it's quite more affordable to go out for meals here, and so we tend to eat out a lot more here in South Africa than we do in Australia. Number 6 is family involvement. Now this could really just be my subjective experience, my nuclear and external, what's it called, extended family, but I find that in South Africa, like families are so intertwined, and it took me a really long time to like get used to this, of like people asking questions about certain things or wanting to know about certain things or wanting to be involved. And like now I just find it like totally normal. Like families are very involved in each other's businesses, if I can put it that way. And I find in Australia it's not kind of really like that. People are a little bit more private, even in a family itself. That could just be my experience, but I have completely changed and I've become a lot more open and involved in other people's lives in the family. And yeah, I feel that I've changed in that way. Number 7 is that I've become, can you hear I can hear somebody approaching the door. Hello?
Hey, would you like a tea?
Yes, please.
Did you buy tea?
No. I forgot.
I'll buy some. I'll make them ready.
Thanks. Oh, I was being offered tea. Number 7, let me get back to it, is that I've become a lot more vigilant and aware and mistrusting. So when we're out and about, I really just am a lot more aware of like my surroundings. I'm a lot more mistrusting. Maybe that's just because I've become older. I don't know. But in Australia, I feel like even when we were there the last 11 months, I allow our kids to kind of go ahead of us a little bit. You know, when we're out and about in the city or in the town or whatever, I kind of, you know, they can run ahead of us a little bit, they can play, and I'm a lot more drawn back here. So I'm very vigilant. I don't allow them to go out of my sight. I mean, I wouldn't there either, but they stand next to me. Even grocery shopping, they're in the trolley, like there's no way they're going anywhere, not even in the same aisle. Like, I'm very vigilant and very aware of my surroundings, which I think I've changed a lot over the last few years of living here. The 8th thing is probably my fashion sense. It could have just changed like over time, but I feel like in South Africa, people are a lot more aware maybe of what they're wearing. I don't know if I can put it that way. Like, because maybe it's not like that for everyone, but I find that I have changed a lot in my fashion sense. Like when I lived in Australia, it was like fine to wear thongs, okay, flip-flops, and it was cool to wear that with like a pair of jeans and like a shirt. But here it's a bit different. I feel like things are just a little more formal. Even if you can dress casually, your outfit still kind of is put together. I'm not saying Australians are not put together. I don't know how to express this in the right way, but personally for me, I feel like I've become a lot more aware of the outfits that I'm wearing, and I do try to put in a little bit more effort. Whereas I find in Australia, it's kind of cool to just, you can get away with kind of wearing anything you want. It's very open. It's very, I guess it's just very open. I don't know. Is it like that in South Africa? If you live in South Africa, let me know. Maybe you live somewhere by the beach and it's super chilled and you can kind of wear baggy clothes or whatever you want. Maybe it's like that. I'm not really sure. Let me know in the comments below. Those are my 8 points on the ways that I have changed and become more South African and therefore maybe less Australian. I'm not really sure. Maybe there are similarities of both. Let me know in the comments below what you thought of this video. Give us a thumbs up. Please subscribe to our channel and we'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.